What's up guys, RC Syndicate here, back with another video, and today we review my Vanquish H10 Optic. So very late to the game on this one. This rig has been out for probably about 1.5 years at this point, but there's always been a rig that I've wanted to pick up and I just never got around to it until finally here it is. But those with a keen eye, you can see already that this is not stock at all. So for those of you who want a more in-depth breakdown, review, run, and the whole spiel, I definitely suggest go ahead and check out Harley Designs, Scale Builders Guild, West Desert Wheelers. Those guys do a great job of talking about this entire rig. But because it's been out for so long, let me just go over the little nuances of mine. So let's start it out with a Yokohama livery version of the H10 Optic. And for those of you who have a very keen eye, you can definitely see that this has a black cage with the Yokohama livery. This was actually a gray cage, and rather than doing a cage swap with the Sparko edition, I decided to go ahead and dye it, and that's what we did with this one. I blew it completely down to bare. Actually had this thing dyed. For those of you who've never dyed parts before, I use simply RIT dye, fabric dye you can get at Walmart or whatnot. Boil it up, dunk this guy in, make sure you get it off the surface of the pot. Definitely use a pot you have zero intentions of cooking in ever again. And then boil it for about 10 minutes, just turning it different ways and just checking to make sure you have all your light spots, completely soaked. And after about 10-15 minutes, wash it off with cold water and boom, this is what you get. All black cage with this livery, and I think that is exactly what this thing needs. The gray looked good, especially with this little bit of gray that we have here, but because the black is such a dominant color, I thought that would be an absolute perfect change done to this thing. And shout out to SBG, Scale Builders Guild, because he dyed his like a burgundy, and I say shout out to him because he dyed it burgundy. I wanted a red, and the red on gray definitely makes burgundy, so that's why I was like, no, we're going with the black cage, and this is what we got, and I think it looks pretty freaking sweet. But of course, like everything in RC life, nothing remains stock for long. So after doing the cage, this rig is completely torn apart. I mean, there's just parts everywhere to get to anything in here. Vanquish does a very good job at packaging everything so tight where you can't get through anything without tearing it completely apart. That is both a frustration and an appreciation for the engineering. So let's just skip the negative and go straight to the positive. While I had it apart, I decided to go ahead and add the Fusion Pro system in there. So I have the Fusion Pro system in here. You can see all nestled in there, all nice and tight back there. Went for the Fusion Pro, not with the Fusion Elite, although we have that on our 4S rig. And the reason why I decided to not go with the Fusion Elite is because first we had the Pro available, but I also felt that 2300 kV on a 3S would be exactly perfect that we needed, especially for this rig, because the Fusion Pro versus the Elite, I feel like the Pro has way better response at such a low speed compared to the Elite. The Elite is a little bit snappy, and quite frankly, that's a bit of a negative that I've been seeing with running the 4S rig, is that there's a little bit of too much of an off and on as opposed to this rig. Maybe I can dial that back out a little bit by messing with some of my transmitter configurations in there, but just so far that's what I've seen. So I thought for this particular rig, and when I intend to use it for like a very good trail truck, long distance, good heat dissipation because of the canister being so bigger, more low end grunt for longer runs, especially with these bigger tires, I thought that that'd be a good compromise. So that's why we decided to go ahead and go with the Fusion Pro. So kind of put it all together, the rig's completely apart. We got the Fusion Pro thrown in there with a 13 tooth pinion, I believe. So at this point you move over and start addressing other stuff because you're waiting on other parts. So of course next we had to go with the servo. Now of course with the servo, you guys can see it right there. We got the Reefs 888 all nestled in back there. Yep, hell of a tight fit, but it's in there. And I have to tell you, it looks freaking awesome. It turns great. If you want to see it run, again, the weather's crappy outside, so we're not going to run it outside, but that'll be happening soon. We ran it a little bit on our 4S comp truck. That rig still has its 888, so that's what I knew for a servo. I'm like, yeah, for sure I'll go with the 888 on this one. That'll give us enough speed that we need, the grunt that we need, and this will be 3S direct. There's a lot of people running the 1100 smart servo on this. I think the 1100 smart servo is too fast. I want a more slow control. Have you guys ever seen a rig that has a servo that's too quick? When you get it pitched to one corner and you want to kind of walk the rig out of it, that slower grunt can kind of do it in more of a controlled state. That fast twitch, you'll see a lot of rigs kind of ass in over and fall out. So I think the Reef 888 would be a perfect addition for this, and I think it's going to be exactly what we need. But you do that, and then again starts to snowball. So let me show you where we're at now. Again, folks, this is a hobby / addiction, right? But you know, we just don't tell nobody the other part of that. So again, we talked about it. We did the Fusion Pro in the sucker. We did the Reef 888, and then of course we're gonna go ahead and throw some brass in it. So what we have here is the Mias knuckles up front. Very, very nice piece. Went in just fine. Went in nice and smooth. Replace this plastic one, and I mean, that is a solid hunk of brass right there. So I think that's going to help out very, very much. But of course, we can't just do the front. We had to come through and definitely do the rears as well. I mean, look at that sucker. That is a hefty piece of brass right there. Good looking brass, if I do say so myself. So we got those installed, and I think that's going to be very, very much a welcome addition for there. So again, that's the Fusion Pro, nice low and slow with the speed that we need. A Reef 888 that has the grunt that we need. Got the brass to get the center of gravity even lower. But for those with a keen eye, you can see these are not the stock H10 shocks. Nope, those are long gone. So I didn't think it was gonna happen to me, but I gotta tell you, this thing right here did suffer from oiled shocks. And when I mean oiled shocks, I got it out of the box and it was already trying to seep already. So I was real bummed out. I was like, what the heck? Like already? No. Again, the rig's completely apart. Let's go ahead and address that. We have the iBox shocks on this thing. Let me get a better picture. There you go, better video. We got the iBox shocks on this thing, and those are awesome. These are 80 mil all the way around, 50 weight, all four corners, and that brought it down, again, about 10 mils or so. They brought it down nice, low, and slow. I'm gonna see probably some issues with the links and the belly perhaps, but we'll get out there and we'll address that as those come. You know, we can always do hardcore RC links if we have to get us some more clearance. But having these iBox shocks, not only do they freaking look good, bringing it down a little bit, and they don't leak. The other ones were just leaking with just sitting there. That's crazy to me, but made that addition. Also, while we were there, we decided to go ahead and change out these bump stops. So the ones from the factory, they're cool. They're these little gray ones. You know, that's cool and stuff. And I could have dyed those black, absolutely. But I mean, we're already here, right? So let's go ahead and change out those. And these are actually functional. Check this out. Let me get a little bit closer. So that's in there. Look at that. Working bump stops. Isn't that freaking sweet? So definitely got those. I think those are an awesome addition. Absolutely unnecessary, but an awesome addition as well. Now, while we were there, again, we decided to go and change out these little straps right here. These are plastic from the factory. See if I get some light in there. Yep, those are plastic from the factory. We have those changed out to metal. Why? Absolutely unnecessary, but those are from Trio. So again, absolutely unnecessary, but when you're already there, you're already there, so you change them out. All right, last two things we're gonna go over, and I'm definitely gonna show you guys what you guys have obviously been seeing, and that is absolutely not the light kit. That is actually the air tank back here. So this air tank from the factory comes gray molded, just like the cage does. This is what I learned. I thought this was going to be red. Remember I had mentioned it before where Scale Builders Guild dyed theirs red. This is when I saw it for myself. This sucker went super duper burgundy. Obviously that couldn't happen. So after I got done having it burgundy, I decided to go ahead and paint it red to kind of match the red here as best I could. Black handle, silver valve, and this is all painted. And just kind of put the sticker right back in there, painted the brackets, and yeah, I think that looks sweet. I think that's a nice touch to kind of add and kind of carry on the color scheme all the way through. And yeah, I think that looks pretty freaking sweet. So now let's go ahead and get into what clearly what you guys have been seeing all the way around, and I think you guys will be super stoked. So this right here is my LED light kit that I got from My Trick RC. Let me get that in there real quick. This right here is my first time ever ordering a light kit from this company, and I have to say, super duper impressed. You can see here, without blinding you guys so much, we got molded in lights, 4 LEDs for the front, so a total of 8. We have rock lights all 4 corners. Do have tail light in the back, super duper bright on that sucker. And then I opted to go ahead and have a whip, and I'll show all this in the dark, but I added the little red whip right here. I thought that would be kind of sweet, a pretty cool addition, especially if I'm going to take this thing on any kind of night runs. I thought it'd be pretty sweet, especially again because we were already here. Might as well just go ahead and do it all at once and not have to worry about it. Now, are there going to be more upgrades? Of course. What would this hobby be with a rig that sat by itself stock for longer than a freaking day, or between paycheck to paycheck? But that's just between you and I. So a lot more upgrades. Like I said, we're going to run this thing. We're going to see if we need to change the links on it. Of course, we'll put some miles on it and see what else we got to change. But for a rig, kind of like a out of the box, spend some money on it, and be dialed before we hit the trails, I think this is a solid way to go. Guys, I appreciate you sticking with me. Appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. Appreciate all the support with the extra subscribers and the views on the channels. I really appreciate it very much. Makes this little hobby much more fun, especially when I get to show some cool stuff with you guys. And I'm not no Scale Builders Guild, so I'm not going to be making anything from scratch, but if I can show you how to do a little bit of personalization and just, you know, little things, and like we've done, share the hobby. That's just the way we do it. So again, appreciate your time. I'm going to leave you guys with some clips of this thing in the dark, and hope you guys like it.